Life. What is it? Life, living matter, and as such, is matter that shows certain attributes that include growth, responsiveness, metabolism, energy transformation, and reproduction. In biology, there's this thing we call the hierarchy of life. First, we start with the cells, the building blocks of life. Cells make up the tissues, tissues make up organs, organs make up organ systems, and ultimately, organ systems make up an organism. Organism. An organism is a single individual or entity. While it may have many parts, the organism cannot survive without the parts, as the parts cannot survive without the organism. Today we'll be talking about the big parts called the organ systems of the body. We'll be talking about three in particular: the cardiovascular, the respiratory, and the nervous system. Let's get to it.
When we hear the term cardiovascular system, we tend to associate it with the heart. We have felt our own hearts pound, and sometimes this makes us feel nervous. However, the cardiovascular system is much more than just the heart. Thus, it is important for us to understand why this system is vital to life.
The cardiovascular system is also called the circulatory system, where cardi refers to the heart and vascular refers to the blood vessels.
Your heart is a pump. It is a muscular organ which is about the size of your fist. Thus, it makes sense to say that if a person has a bigger fist, then that person has a bigger heart.
Shaped like an upside-down pear, it is located under the ribcage, slightly to the left of the breastbone and in between the lungs. It also sits on top of the diaphragm, which is the main muscle that helps with breathing. How does blood travel through the heart? The heart is divided into the right and the left side. This division protects oxygen-rich blood from mixing with oxygen-poor blood. As the heart beats, it pumps blood through a system of blood vessels. These vessels are elastic, muscular tubes that carry blood to each and every part of the body. Together, the heart and the blood vessels comprise the cardiovascular system, which circulates blood and oxygen around the body. Oxygen-poor blood returns to the heart after circulating through the body. The right side of the heart, which is composed of the right atrium and right ventricle, collects and pumps the blood to the lungs through the pulmonary arteries. Then, the lungs refresh the blood with a new supply of oxygen, making it turn red. Oxygen-rich blood then enters to the left side of the heart, which is composed of the left atrium and left ventricle, and is pumped through the aorta of the body to supply tissues that contain oxygen. 4 valves within the heart keep your body moving the right way. These 4 valves within the heart work like the gates on a fence. They only open only in one way and only when pushed on. Each valve opens and closes once per heartbeat or once per second.
Perhaps you've heard about zombies say brains in movies and games, right? But have you ever heard a vampire say blood? Just kidding. You see, the meal of choice for vampires is blood, because blood is red, sticky, salty, and has a metallic taste to it.
It is a constantly circulating fluid providing the body with nutrition, oxygen, and waste removal. It is mostly liquid with numerous cells and proteins suspended in it, making blood thicker than pure water.
Conducted through blood vessels, blood is prevented from clotting in the blood vessels by their smoothness and the finely tuned balance of clotting factors.
It contains proteins that help blood to clot and transport substances through the blood. About half of blood volume is composed of blood cells. Red blood cells which carry oxygen to the tissues, white blood cells which defend the body against bacteria and fight infections, and platelets, smaller cells that help blood to clot.
Blood vessels aren't just passive tubes made merely to carry liquid around. Like the pipes behind the walls of your home, they are active and dynamic organs, capable of contracting and expanding as they
deliver oxygen and nutrients to cells throughout the body, carry away waste products, and do their part in maintaining blood pressure. You already know the three major types of blood vessels. The arteries, which are very muscular and carry blood away from the heart. It is also here where we can find the largest artery called the aorta. The pulmonary artery carries the blood from the lungs where it receives oxygen. It is unique because the blood in it is not oxygenated as it has not yet passed through the lungs. The veins that bring blood back to the heart. The pulmonary veins carry oxygenated blood from the lungs to the left atrium of the heart, while the systemic veins carry the low oxygenated blood from the body to the right atrium of the heart. Little capillaries that act as the transfer station between the two. You've also got arterioles, which are like mini arteries that branch out into those capillaries, and venules, the smallest vein components that suck blood out of the capillaries and merge into the larger veins that head home to heart.
Breathe in and breathe out. The moment we hear the term respiratory system, we can directly say that it's about the lungs, air, and anything that's in between. To survive, we involuntarily inhale and exhale air, and that is called the process of respiration. But what we must always remember is that the respiratory system is more than just the air that we breathe in and out and knowing how to inhale and exhale. Because, just like any other systems in our body, the respiratory system is important and vital to life. But, what is the respiratory system?
Respiration comes from the Latin word respirationem, meaning breathing and respiration, and re, which means again.
Every cell in our body needs oxygen, and luckily, the respiratory system contains the major organs that are responsible in helping us breathe. Respiratory system is the network of organs and tissues that help us breathe. This system helps us absorb oxygen from the air so that organs in our body can work. It also cleans waste gases such as carbon dioxide from our blood.
The respiratory system has many different parts that work together to help us breathe. Each group of parts has many separate components. The airway delivers air to the lungs, and this airway is a complicated system that includes
the mouth and nose are the openings that pull air from outside the body into the respiratory system inside our body.
Next is the sinuses, are the hollow areas between the bones in our head that helps us regulate the temperature and humidity of the air we inhale.
We also have the pharynx, which is the tube that delivers air from our mouth and nose to the trachea or windpipe in our body. Moreover, the bronchial tubes are the tubes at the bottom of your windpipe that connects inside of each lung.
The lungs are the two organs that remove oxygen from the air and passes it into our blood.
From our lungs, our bloodstream delivers oxygen in all our organs and other tissues. Muscles and bones help move the air that we inhale into and out of our lungs. Some of the bones and muscles in our respiratory system includes
the diaphragm is the muscle that helps us, especially our lungs, pull in air and push it out, which is located in the middle between our lungs and our stomach.
The ribs. The muscles between your ribs also help enlarge the chest cavity. They contract to pull your ribcage both upward and outward when you inhale. As your lungs expand, air is sucked in through your nose or mouth. The air travels down your windpipe and into your lungs.
when we breathe out, our blood carries carbon dioxide and other waste out of our bodies. Other components that work with the lungs and blood vessels include the following organs and tissues.
The alveoli are the tiny air sacs in our lungs, where the exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide takes place.
Next, we also have our bronchioles, which are the small branches of the bronchial tubes that leads to alveoli.
The capillaries, on the other hand, are the blood vessels in the alveoli that moves oxygen and carbon dioxide.
Meanwhile, the lung lobes are the so-called sections of the lungs, where there are 3 present in the right lung and 2 on the left lung.
The pleura are the thin sacs that surrounds each lung's lobes and separates our lungs from the chest wall.
The cilia are the tiny hairs that move in a wave-like motion to filter dust and other irritants out of our airways.
We also have the epiglottis, which are the tissue flap at the entrance to the trachea that closes when we swallow to keep food and liquids out of our airway.
The voice box, or the larynx, is the hollow organ that allows us to talk and make sounds when air moves in and out.
Fun fact number 1. You lose a lot of water just by breathing. Breathing allows you to take in oxygen your cells need and expel carbon dioxide waste. But when you exhale, you also breathe out a lot of water.
The lungs are the only organs that can float on water. Each of your lungs contains about 300 million balloon-like structures called alveoli, which replace the carbon dioxide waste in your blood with oxygen. When these structures are filled with air, the lungs become the only organs in the human body that can float on water.
The word nervus means containing nerves or affecting the sinews. From nervus, sinewy, or nerve. The meaning of or belonging to the nerves in the modern anatomical sense is from 1660s.
What if we told you there's always a crime happening within our system, and if we even attempt a little bit to seize it, we will die? That might be well out of context, but it is true to all that kicks and breathes. So sit back and no need to worry, as this crime is morally upright and Supreme Court approved.
Crimes. In terms of bodily functions, it takes another meaning. C for controlling our muscles and glands, R for receiving sensory input, I for integrating information, M for maintaining homeostasis in the body, and E for establishing mental activity.
Let's put it this way. Nervous system, from the word itself, nerves, connects our body with the environment. Let us call it crime company, where there is a set of employees and a big boss. Nerve fibers act like loopholes to various stimulus, and once they receive it, they report back to their mastermind brain, which sends out signals to other parts of the body as response. Best examples of response to stimulus are temperature regulation, pupil dilation, and reflex actions.
Now let's talk about our crime company and meet our big bosses from the central department. We have our CEO brain and its right-hand spinal cord. Our brain's so complex, eccentric if you will, and it has full control over our body, from our heart rate and muscle control to our thoughts and memory spaces. It is divided into 4 major parts.
Brainstem connects with our spinal cord and is responsible for controlling blood pressure, heart rate, and breathing. It controls most of the important reflex actions such as coughing, sneezing, vomiting, and swallowing. The reticular formations in our brainstem is responsible for our ability to walk and stay conscious.
The encephalon stores all the sensory information needed for us to see, smell, hear, and taste. You love sleeping? This region got you, fam! It is also responsible for emotions like rage, fear, and relaxation. Oh, It is also responsible as to why your body got magically transformed as you enter your teens.
Next is the cerebellum, which controls our movements, coordinating our body parts, and positioning our body for comfort. Cerebellum maintains our balance so we don't trip off easily in flat surfaces. It is the reason why we can go hiking, play with monkey bars, and dance the night away.
Lastly, our cerebrum keeps our internal organs' activities in check. It controls our hearing, visualization, language, and thought. It is responsible for forming, keeping, and regulating memories and generates emotions which we show to other people.
Now that we learned about our brain, let's talk about its right hand, the spinal cord. It transmits information to and for the brain, and it also controls our reflex actions.
Every group needs its own little guys that do the dirty work. This is where the neuron steps in.
Neurons are the most basic working unit of the brain. It is a specialized cell designed to transmit information to nerve cells, muscles, and gland cells. Most neurons have a cell body, an axon, and dendrites. The function of the axon is to transmit information to muscles, neurons, and glands, also known as the soma. The cell body carries genetic information, maintains the neuron structure, and provides energy to drive activities. Like other cell bodies, a neuron's soma contains a nucleus and specialized organelles. The transfer of information from neuron to neuron takes place through the release of chemical substances into the space between the axon and the dendrites. These chemicals are called neurotransmitters, and the process is called neurotransmission. The space between the axon and the dendrites is called the synapse. The autonomic nervous system unconsciously controls and regulates bodily functions such as heart rate, breathing, respiratory rate, and digestion. It provides a coordinated regulation of visceral and glandular functions.
The sympathetic nervous system is responsible for coping up to stress with the fight or flight response, also known as the sympathoadrenal response.
Our sympathetic nervous system returns the body to normal by feed and breathe or rest and digest after the fight or flight response. It consists of nerve fibers leading to or originating from the brain and spinal cord.
The enteric nervous system is responsible for the gastrointestinal system, from the esophagus down to the anus. It is described as the second brain because it works on its own.
Somatic nervous system. This system is made up of nerves that connect to the skin, sensory organs, and all skeletal muscles. The system is responsible for nearly all voluntary muscle movements, as well as for processing sensory information that arrives via external stimuli including hearing, touches, and sight.
Hey, I'm back. Hopefully you learned a lot from that very long video. We talked about 3 human body systems, their functions and their individual parts, and how they work together. The cardiovascular system carries gases to and from the respiratory system, allowing for this process we call respiration to take place. And obviously, this is governed by the nervous system sending signals to the organs involved. But we're not done yet. There are 11 human body systems working in your person as of this very moment. Each body system is made to be unique, complicated, and important in their own right. You know who else fits with that description? You. Humans are very unique, possessing varying genes, personalities, interests, skills, and talents, each excelling in different aspects of life. You can probably see where this is going. Being alone is cool and all, but sometimes we just have to be with other people. As flawed as they may be, we need each other. And for some people, it's these bonds that only matter in this life. So like the body systems forming an organism, let's help one another with what we have and can do. Let's all be part of something greater than ourselves. So with all that said, we at Maxwell hope you keep on circulating, respirating, and thinking. See you around.